Hello and welcome to the shop. I have a set of blanks that I'm going to turn today. Now this set was given to me by Travis Wakefield of Toasted Timbers, and this is one of Travis's blanks. It is a card blank, and the second blank is from Devine Island Designs. Now they had them bagged up together, and this is for the junior series, the junior Joshua, Gent, or Aaron, and they came pre-tubed. All I had to do was a little squaring up of the ends of the blank, and they're ready to go to the lathe. Once those blanks are turned, I've got a junior Joshua kit here that I purchased from the Classic Nib that I'm going to go ahead and install those blanks on. To turn this pin, I'm going to require two separate sets of bushings. Now, I really do not want to use my mandrel because the last couple of times I've used it, my pins haven't turned out perfectly round, so I think my mandrel might be slightly bent, and my bushings are not turned between center. What I want to do is, I've got this nice little set of adapter bushings that I got from Geist, and what we're going to do is they turn any standard bushing into a turn between center bushing. They've got the 60-degree cone milled into the end, and with these we are ready to turn both of our blanks. I've got the blank chucked up and you can see the adapter bushings at both ends. I grab my parting tool. We're going to turn the lathe all the way up and we're going to listen. And you can hear there's a nice smooth sound, which means we are spinning true. If you hear any vibration, if the tool bumps or bounces, you need to stop and adjust. So we are definitely spinning true. Let me zoom in just a little bit more, and I'm going to show you the blank. It's kind of hard to see because it's a little hazy, but it's really a nice looking blank. There's a tiger on the card, the playing card, and the blank from Devine Island Designs is called their Tiger Design. So this is going to make a beautiful pin. Let's get turning. The first blank has been turned. While it's on the lathe, I'm going to go ahead and sand it and polish it and just get this blank finished so that it's ready to be pressed, and then we'll come back and turn the lower blank. I'm running just a tad over 1150 RPMs. I'm going to scuff the blank up with some 120 grit sandpaper, and I want you to notice the shiny area there, 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 and there. What that means is we've kind of dug in a little bit with the tool, so we're going to use this paper and we're just going to sand with it until the entire blank becomes a solid sheet of white scratches. At that point we know we have eliminated all the tool marks and we'll be ready to run through the rest of the grits of paper. That blank feels really smooth all the way down the surface. We'll shut the lathe off. We'll take a quick peek at it. I think it looks amazing. I'm going to go ahead and shut the camera off. We'll run through the other grits of paper. There's a 220, a 340, a 400, and a 600. I'll come back and show this to you right before I begin polishing. Just finished sanding with the 600 grit. The blank looks really nice. You see there's a bunch of scratches in it, but don't worry, the micro mesh will clean those fine scratches up. No problem. Still running at about 1180 RPMs. You can already see a difference in the blank. I think I'm going to hit it one more time with the highest grit brown pad of micro mesh, and then we're going to start running through the rest of the pads, and we should end up with a really nice looking blank. I will not film running through these pads. I'm going to shut the camera off. It's kind of boring, but I'll come back and show it to you right before I put a polish on it. just finished this blank. It looks really amazing. It is now ready for a little Renaissance wax. I'm going to go ahead and do that. We'll get it buffed up, and we'll be done with Travis's blank, and we'll move on to the Devine Island Design blank. Put a little wax on here. I got this tip for waxing the blank from a fellow named Lowry Wilson. I got it while I was down in Augusta, and I tried it out, and it works phenomenally well, so I just keep using it. It's a great little tip, and that blank is ready to be buffed. I have the Devine Island Design blank chucked up. This is Braxton Frankenberry's company. All of the people that I'm mentioning, their contact information will be in the comments. Let's go ahead and test out. I'm set up with the same adapter bushings to turn these normal bushings into turn between center. You didn't hear any bouncing of the tool. That means we are perfectly aligned and ready to turn. The turning is complete. Isn't that a beautiful blank? I just love the color mixture. I want to let you know that Braxton actually has his own line of liquid pigments for casting. So if you're looking for different colored pigments for casting, check his website out. I had to be careful. Normally when I set one of these up, this bushing is smaller than this one. And normally I like to turn from left to right. And I didn't notice it until I had it just about turned down that this is the front bushing where the nib goes. So I had to very carefully kind of shape that. It doesn't matter really which way you do it. It's just my habit is to go from left to right. And I think that's from being left-handed. And I like to turn it down on this end. But other than that, it turned out really, really nice. I'm ready to go ahead. This blank won't require... you know what? I'm going to go ahead and use the sandpaper just because I can feel ever so slightly just a little bit of a tool mark in there. So I'm going to go ahead and run through the sandpaper. I'm going to run through the micro mesh, and I'll show you what it looks like at the end of each of those steps. I just finished running through my sandpaper. I've got a beautiful finish on the blank. It's got a few scratches on it. I always like to do this. Notice how it's kind of hazy. Let me run through the first micro mesh pad and then take a look at what this blank looks like. Now take a look at the blank. That first set of fine scratches has been removed, and we're just going to continue to turn until we take all of these scratches down to a point where the human eye is going to have a hard time seeing them. All right, I'll come back and show you what it looks like when the micro mesh is finished. Take a look at that. The micro mesh really put a shine on this blank. Isn't it beautiful? Let's hit it with the Renaissance. And ready now for the buffing wheels, and I'm going to put these on. I'm going to put this on the mandrel with this end toward the end of the mandrel. That way I can keep track of it, because I don't want to accidentally press the nib into the wrong end and have to worry about, you know, knocking it apart. That would just be not a fun thing to deal with. So let me get this on the mandrel. Let me get my buffing wheels on the lathe, and let's polish this one up. Time to polish. The way this blank looks right now, before I took it to the buffing wheels, it's going to polish up, and actually it's going to have just an amazing shine to it. It's going to be unbelievable what it looks like. Really excited about that. Sometimes you get blanks that they just turn up so nicely, and you just know that everything you do to them is just going to make them look just even better. Blanks like that are what you're always looking for. Those are the kind you want, is the ones that just pop. I'm ready to assemble my blanks into this Junior Joshua kit. We're going to grab our first blank. We're going to take a look at it, and you can see this is the larger end, this is the smaller end, so this would be the nib end. We're going to remove the bushing from the nib end. We're going to grab our nib, and one thing about it, the nib threads together, so you can remove it, thread it back together. I'm going to leave it together for pressing, because this will fit nicely into the indention on the press. There is a trim ring here. This trim ring needs to be seated on the front of the pin, and there's a little lip on it. Make sure the lip is up, because that's what's going to seat against the blank. Okay, we'll start sliding it together. Let's put it into our pin press. Lift this up. We'll throw that one, and let's press it together. Okay, I'm going to back this off a little bit. Put one more just to make sure I get a tight press. Not too bad. I'm a little nervous because I've got a bit of a lip right there. I think I may have made a mistake. I'm going to do a quick test here. Yes, I did. I have the blank backwards. What I'm going to do is get my punch, and we're going to knock this out. The cap, or the back end of the pin, should get pressed into this side, and the nib gets pressed into the larger end of the blank. A quick note here is you always want to pay close attention to your instructions. I looked at the instructions online for pressing the pin together, but I did not look at the bushing diameters. There were two diagrams in there. The top diagram showed the bushings that went to each end of the blank. The bottom diagram showed the pin being pressed together. When I looked at the bushing diagram, it talked about the cap end versus the nib end. And had I looked at that first, I would not have made this mistake. We're going to lock this blank into our pin vise, or pin jaws here. I want to loosen it. I want to get it. There we go. I didn't want to crank it down really hard and crush it. I wanted it tight enough where it wouldn't slip out, but I wanted to be careful not to put too much pressure on it. Okay, I'm just going to hold it in my hand like this. Couple pops with the hammer. It slides right out. Now we'll put the trim ring right back on. We'll flip it around, and we'll put the bushing back in, and we'll go right back to the lathe. I'm sorry, right back to the press. Once again, I've got a bushing on the back end to protect my blank. There we go. Nice tight fit. Oh yeah, that is way better. Let me get the bushing out of the way there. Take a look at that. We have got a gorgeous fit on that pin. I'm trying to really get a good focus here for you. There we go. Beautiful fit. Now that's what I was looking for. That's what panicked me with the other end, because this ring was too big for this end. Let's go get the cap pressed into the front half of this pin. We're going to get our bushings out of the way. We no longer need those. We've got our cap, and the same holds true. It's got a trim ring, and we need to turn the flat edge of the ring toward the blank. Let's go ahead and get it seated here in the press. You guys will notice my press is not sliding around. I put the rubber feet on it. You may have seen the video, and the rubber feet have stopped probably about 85–90% of the sliding of the press on the bench. Let me bring this up to you to take a look at now. Oh, look at that. That's a beautiful fit. You cannot feel the trim ring. That's exactly the fit we're going for. Let's get the rollerball ink refill put into this blank. First thing we'll do is we will unthread the nib. Here's the rollerball refill. We'll remove the cap. Drop that down into the blank. Reattaching our cap. And there you have it. The back half of the pin uses the exact same size bushings on both ends. We're going to go ahead and press the lower trim ring in first. So I'll remove the bushing. The lion's head is facing up. That's the direction I want it. We'll go ahead and put this in our press. Okay, let's get one more gate up there. Nice tight press. I'll remove the bushing. Take a look at that. Isn't that a great fit? We really nailed that one. I'm ready to install the cap. We don't need the bushings any longer. We'll take our clip and we'll slide the cap through the clip. We're going to put it on the pin, and on the back of the pin where the two circles meet is where I want the clip to press. So I'm going to try to hold it into place there. Let's see. Let me do it like this. We'll adjust our press. There we go. I'm going to get this started, just a little bit of a press, almost complete. Then I'm going to pull this out, and we're going to adjust the clip exactly where we want it. I'll put this in the press, and I'm going to hold it in place just like that. Placement is very important. And now we'll snug it down nice and tight. And look at that. Cap looks great. There's one more piece I just realized. I've got a sleeve I need to press into here. Let me grab that. This was just a protective sleeve because I did not see it on the diagram. What I'm going to do now is I need to knock the cap out of here. Then I need to knock this trim ring out. I need to press this black plastic piece up into the cap because that contains the threads that allows me to thread it into the cap. So we're going to go ahead now and we're going to knock the bottom apart of our pin. We'll snug our cap up in our jaws. Okay, it's out. Oh, actually, that's something I've been meaning to tell you guys about. The button is out. There we go, the cap is out now. With these junior pins, on your back piece, you have a little button, and it just basically presses in there. And I haven't started doing this yet. I've been wanting to show you guys, but basically you can turn a little cabochon this diameter and you can epoxy it in there, and you use the cutoff from your blank, and then the end of your cap has a, instead of having a chrome button like this, it'll have a button that's exactly the color of, say, the bottom blank of your pin. I grabbed a larger punch, one that fits inside the blank, and will allow me to push that trim ring out. There we go. Now what we want to do is we want to take a look at this and make sure we have the proper direction that it threads in. We're going to press that into the bottom of the blank. Let me get one of my bushings to protect it. We're going to press it all the way up in there. There we go. Now that that's pressed in there, we'll grab our trim ring again. There's a little bit of slurry on the bottom of there. There we go. Get rid of that so it's not, we don't have anything unsightly in there. Okay, let's press our trim ring back in. We can remove our bushing. A little slurry on there. When you sand with the micro mesh and water, sometimes you get a little slurry and you just want to wipe that off. I'm glad that I took this apart so I could see it, because that could be unsightly. I'm going to slide this on here. We'll get it started again. Don't want to press it all the way up on there, because we're going to turn it around and we're going to align our clip precisely how we want it. Press a little farther. There we go. I'm going to go ahead for now, and I'm going to press this cap back in because I don't plan to change the cap out. That'll be a future video. There we are. Cap is pressed back in. Now let me show you this pin. Much better. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Despite me having a little bit of trouble pressing the pin together, at least we got to see what happens when you do make a mistake. You simply grab your punches, knock it apart, fix the mistake, put it back together. We also got to see that little button. Now in a future video, I will take a piece of this, the Tiger blank, and I will turn it and put a little cabochon on the end of that to match the bottom, which will make the pin just that much more unique and beautiful. I think it turned out great. I'm really happy with it. My son is a tiger fanatic, absolutely loves tigers. So bottom line, I didn't know what I was going to do with this pin until I got to turning it. I think I'm going to present this pin to my son because I really think he'll love it. I'd like to thank you for joining me in the shop today. I want you to know that you are always welcome in my shop. Come back and see me again real soon, and have a great evening, everybody.